Hello, welcome to day 3 of the sew along. For this video, we are doing the zippered hood. So I will walk you through how to place that zipper, how to get a really good, nice rectangle at the bottom. As well, we are going to talk about the grommets and how to get good grommets and your hood. And if you do not want to do a zipper for your hoodie, you do not have to. It's just my personal preference. If you don't want to, make sure you don't cut open for the zipper on your front. And I'll walk you through the instructions for that in the blog post. But if you're ready for the zipper, let's get started.
Okay, so I am ready to prepare for my zipper. So I'm going to take my zipper, and this was a really long zipper, and I cut it down, to 1/2 inch above the length that I wanted it to be. So I wanted an 11-inch zipper, so I put this stop right where I wanted it, and I measured from the top stop to 11.5 inches, and I cut it there. And then I'm also going to wrap fabric around the end of it. So to do that, you're going to cut a 4-inch strip of fabric and times the width of your zipper. So I did mine for 1 inch. And then you are going to fold it in 1 inch on each side, like this. And then you're going to put your zipper to where the end of your zipper is in the middle. And then you're going to wrap it like this. And then you are going to sew it starting on the side right here. So you're going to sew the sides, and then you can also sew the bottom if you want. And then we're going to not sew this part. And also, you are going to get some kind of tool to mark with, and you don't have to do any of this if you want to keep your stop. If you want to keep your stop, then you're just going to measure from the bottom of your stop to here, and that's the number you need. So I'm going to pretend, sewing is not really a game of pretend, but I'm going to pretend. I'm going to pretend that my stop is right here. And I'm gonna go ahead and mark that, and that would make my zipper length. So since this is my pretend stop, that makes my zipper length 11 inches. So whatever your zipper length is, and the zipper length is the part that is going to show on the right side of your fabric. So when it's all said and done, the part that you want to be visible is what we're considering our zipper length. So we want these top stops to be visible, and we want our bottom stop to be visible. But if you don't like your bottom stop, or you had to cut it short, then just make sure that you make a mark and then you measure that amount. Okay, and now that you have that amount, mine's 11 inches, you're gonna subtract 2.5 inches from it. And so 11 minus 2.5, that would give me 8.5 inches. And you're gonna cut a strip of woven interfacing that length. So I cut a strip that's 8.5 inches long, and then the width is 3/4 of an inch. And pay attention, because a woven interfacing does have a grain line. You want the long part that's 8.5 inches to be the part that has no give. And the part that runs opposite the grain line, it will have a little bit of give, and that's the part that you're going to make 3/4 of an inch. And once you have that, you're going to open up your front piece, and you're going to have drawn a line right down the middle. And I draw my line actually a little bit longer than I know I'm going to need it, just to help me out whenever I'm doing my zipper. And you're going to center this, oh sorry, wrong side, I draw it on both sides. You're going to center this on the wrong side of your fabric. This is a French terry, so you can see the wrong side, the loops. You're going to center it directly over your line. And once you have it good and centered, you're going to apply it. It's going to meet directly at the top with an iron. So make sure it's the fusible kind of interfacing you do not want to sew in, and that the fusible side is down. The fusible side will have these like rough little bumps on them, and then the non-fusible side will be a little bit smoother. Okay, so I'm gonna go and just baste this tab on the bottom of my zipper, and then I'm gonna iron this down, and I'll be right back with the next step. Okay, so I've applied my interfacing, and I went ahead and redrew my line down the center just because it was kind of faint with my interfacing over it. And we're gonna stay stitch the area where we want our zipper. This is a very important step. So how we're going to do that is we're going to sew to 1/8 of an inch beside this line on both sides. We'll start on this side and come up or go down, and then whenever we get to the bottom, we're going to leave 1/4 of an inch across the bottom. And this is, you're just using a regular stitch. And then I'm just going to sew down. This is just a regular straight stitch. And now that we have that area interfaced, in the Staystitching finished, we can cut. We're going to cut through that blue line. But then when we get to the bottom, and this is way scary to cut your fabric, but that's why you need to be exact on your Staystitching and your markings. And you're going to stitch right up here, and it's a very small thing, but you're going to stitch at an angle right up to your stitch line, but not through it. And so you're going to need your sharp scissors to do that part, because you need to be very exact. So that you can open it. Now you can set aside where you've done your Staystitching on the front of your bodice, and if you're going to get out your 2 hood pieces. And you need to cut out a strip of interfacing 2 to 3 inches long. Mine is about 3 inches long and 3/4 of an inch wide. And we're going to interface this part of the hood. So you don't need 2 of them, you just need 1. And you're going to cut that piece in half, longwise. So you should have these 2 small strips like this. They should end up being about 3/8 of an inch wide, and you're going to interface this part of your hood. So you're going to do it on the wrong side. So wrong side of the hood to the fusible side of your interfacing, which is the bumpy side. And I'm going to press this on here. Be right back. Okay, we have finished doing our interfacing on this part of the hood. Let me show you where it is on the wrong side. And now we are going to be interfacing where we're putting our grommets or our buttonholes, so that whenever we want to have our drawstring for our hood. So I have mine marked on the right side, but I'm going to be interfacing the wrong side. So I cut out some woven interfacing. These are 1.25 inch square, and I cut out 4 of them. So I'm going to iron it on to the back of where I've marked. And this area is really important that it does not stretch at all. If your fabric stretches away from your grommet, the grommet will rip out, and you'll have some seams to rip in your future. And in order to keep it from pulling, you've got to make sure that your interfacing is stuck on your fabric. So I'm going to actually do a double layer to make it even stronger. Another option I do sometimes is to put a patch of leather or Craftex paper that acts like leather but sews really easy on the front to give an extra reinforcement. But to reinforce this extra, I'm just going to do 2 pieces of woven and really make sure that they're ironed on there good. So I'm going to do that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I have my area double interfaced, and when I did the interfacing, I did one with the stretch this way and then the other with the stretch this way, so it does not budge either way now. So now that I have that done, I've set up my pliers. I used, as it instructed, the one with the hole here and then the punch. And now I'm going to cut my hole. This is always kind of scary. And it kind of makes a pop. And then you're going to kind of weed that out. there's your hole. And I'm going to do the other one. So I put this directly on the center. And make sure the back is clear. And you hear that pop whenever it's cut through. Sometimes when you're going through all the layers, it might not get them all. So you just grab your scissors and cut it. And then once you have your holes, we're going to get our eyelets out and we're going to put those in. We're going to have to change your hardware on here. It'll show you on your instructions. Okay, I've changed my hardware on here to the one for the 1/4 inch, and I've grabbed my eyelets. So this is considered the eyelet, and then this is considered the washer. You can tell the difference between the eyelet and the washer because the eyelet is taller on this part. So the taller one is going to go in through the wrong side of your, or no, it's going to go in through the right side of your fabric, and it's going to stick out on the wrong side. And that's the taller one, the eyelet. And then you're going to get the washer and you're going to put it there. And the reason that you need this one on this side is because when you press it down, it's not going to show that. But see, when you press it down, this is going to flange out onto the wrong side. And I have accidentally put them in backwards before. So anyway, so once you have this together like this, you're going to put the green, fit that on there, put it down, and then you're going to press. And when you press, see, it's pressing those out there. And so on the right side, it should just look pretty like this. So now we're going to do the other one. So the deeper eyelet is going on the right side of the fabric and poking through on the wrong side. And then the shallower washer. And you always check it before you press down to see that the part that you're pressing down is on the wrong side of the fabric and that your right side is going to look good once it's pressed down. I always take a deep breath when I do that. Okay, and now it is ready and nothing is moving around there, and we're ready for the next step. Okay, the next step is that we are going to sew our hood right side together. So you're going to get both pieces and you're going to get the right sides and you're going to put them together and you're going to sew all along these outward part. And then once you finish sewing that, you're going to press it to one side and then you're going to top stitch it on the right side. And then I'll be back to show you. Okay, so I have finished connecting my hood here and then I've top stitched it with a long straight stitch. And now I'm going to connect my hood to my body. This is my facing for the neckline. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to look at the right side and I'm going to put the right side facing the wrong side of my neckline. And I'm going to clip that here. And at the same time, I'm going to clip the right side of my hood to the right side of my neckline. So you're going to have 3 layers right here. So it's going to be the facing with the right side to this wrong side of the neckline of the body. And then on the right side of it, you have the right side of the hood. And so I'm going to clip all of this together and then I'm going to sew it with my serger. So or if you don't have a serger, you can use a stretch stitch. So you're going to, I'm going to line up the back of my hood with the back of this and make sure I keep all of this even and keep my facing on the wrong side and my hood on the right side of my hood on the right side. I'll sew that together and then I'll be right back. Okay, I have finished this seam connecting my hood to my body and all I have left to do is I'm going to wrap this around my seam allowance, because you're just using this facing to hide it. It's completely decorative. If you didn't want to do this, all you could do is attach the hood to the body right sides together and then top stitch this down. But this is just a piece extra inch of fabric that you're sewing in, and you're just wrapping it over, and then whenever you top stitch your seam down, you have this pretty finish over that seam allowance. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to fold this over, and then I'm going to top stitch it from this side right here, and I'm going to top stitch all along, and there's some extra right here that I'm just going to cut off when I get there. You should now have your hood attached to your body, and if you use the facing, then it looks nice all top stitched down. You could use your cover stitch when you top stitch this down, or I just used a long straight stitch, or you could use a stretch stitch. And now that you have this on here, you are ready for your zipper. If you haven't already applied a tab to the bottom, then go ahead and do that now. Okay, so now we are ready to put in our zipper. So we have done our stay stitching, and then we've clipped through, and we have a little triangle here, and you're gonna turn it to where the right side is facing up, and then you're gonna take the right side of your zipper, and then you're gonna face it down, and you're gonna hang it down. And then just be mindful that everything that is below this stay stitching is gonna be visible from the right side. So if you want your zipper stop to be seen at the very bottom on the right side, then you're going to put it directly underneath this stay stitching right here. So once you put it there, then you're going to put pins in it. But I always check, because you need it directly underneath your line. And to do that, check and make sure that your triangle, before you pin it, make sure I get this on camera, check and make sure that your triangle is directly over zipper teeth, because if it is off any bit like this, then your whole zipper bottom will be off. So before you pin, kind of slide that open, and then re-slide it back shut, and then pin it together. And you might need to check it several times to make sure that your zipper teeth are underneath. And so once you see your zipper teeth are where you want them, then pin the bottom. And I have my line drawn too on the right side and the wrong side. And then you're going to shut this back and pin from the top as well. And I'll show you again what it looks like when I'm done pinning. So this is my wrong side. And you can see that this triangle is directly over my zipper teeth. And I'm going to pin this to where it stays shut when I'm sewing. But I'm only going to sew from this corner to this corner. So my needle will go down here, and then I'm going to pick it right back up here, and then you can do some reverse stitching over here to keep it kind of in place. But you don't want to go any bit past that. So I use my hand wheel because it's easier for me to keep control, because you're really only sewing like 3 stitches. So there's no reason to go fast with your pedal. Let's pull it out. This is our moment of truth. You take your pins out. And if you've done it correctly, you can now push your zipper to the correct side, to the right side of the fabric. And you're going to want to do this before you sew the sides of the zipper up, because you really do want to check to make sure that you didn't get off. So you're going to push it, and this is what it should look like. And if you're happy with that, then you're ready to sew your zipper down. So we're going to get out our zipper foot. I did that step just on with my regular sewing foot. So you find your zipper foot. Mine looks like this. I have a machine with a walking foot, so I have to disengage it to use my zipper foot. So I'm going to snap that foot on. And you're going to pick a side. I'm going to do the right side first. I'll put these threads. and you're going to put this right sides together. So I'm looking at the wrong side of my fabric, and then I am pushing open that triangle, and I'm putting them right sides together. And you know what, even though I could go ahead and sew this right now, I'm not. I'm going to get Wonder Tape, and I'm going to tape this area down, and it's going to make my life a lot easier. I'll be right back after I've done. Okay, I have my Wonder Tape, my zipper all Wonder taped. And now, most people would tell you to sew from the zipper side and to sew along your stay stitching. That's probably even what the instructions say. But I prefer to sew on the zipper side. And that's just because the zipper has no chance of moving. And yes, we did interface this and stay stitch this and it's taped down. But I just always feel more comfortable sewing on the zipper tape side because of all the zippers I've sewn, the ones I sewed on the zipper side, I never have to go back and rip stitches. Well, I shouldn't say never, but I have so much better success. So you're going to start, you're going to put your needle down after you put your zipper foot on. You're going to put your needle down right in the corner of that stay stitching. So where you had sewn across this way, you're going to put your needle down directly in that, and then you're going to keep your, get you closer. And then you're going to keep this outer prong all along your zipper. So you're going to get it as close to the zipper teeth as you can. And you're just sewing with a regular straight stitch. And one thing I didn't mention is make sure you like the color of thread that you're using because you're going to be able to see it when you unzip your top. Mine's purple, so it's not the exact color of my zipper. If that's going to bother you, make sure you get coordinating thread. Okay, and whenever you get closer to your zipper, you're going to put your needle down and then you're going to unzip it and leave your presser foot down too. And you're going to sew all the way up until the seam where your outer collar and inner collar where you sewed them together. So you see how I stopped right before I got to that seam line. Now we're going to admire. See, look how that corner looks right there. We're going to do the same thing now on the other side. We're going to take the left side. And see, this is what it looks like. Nice and straight. Okay, now we're going to take the left side and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to put the left side and then the zipper and the fabric right sides together. And then you're going to push all this out of the way on this side of the zipper. And then you're going to see how you can get that stay stitching to be in a straight line. You're going to see where it ends, how far it is from the raw edge. And you're going to maintain that same distance. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to tape this one down and then sew it with our zipper foot. I like to sew on the zipper side, and I also like to sew from the bottom up. So this is a small enough garment that it's fine to just move over my zipper foot so that the needle is, I can show you. So I just moved my zipper foot to where now it's sewing on the other side. So I can sew from the bottom of the zipper to the top. So I'm going to put my needle, I'm going to start sewing and put my needle down right into my stay stitching. And you're gonna sew as close as your zipper foot will allow you to the zipper teeth in a straight line. And the zippers have like little grooves on them, so you really know if you are sewing straight. Or they're not grooves, they're kind of like these dots that are in a line. I don't know what they're called. Okay, and then whenever I get closer to the zipper pull, I put my needle down and I pick my presser foot up. And then I unzip it. You have to pick your presser foot up because otherwise that zipper is not going to clear with your presser foot down. But your needle being down is going to help hold everything in place. Okay, I have my zipper all taped down with Wonder tape, and now I'm ready to top stitch. So I'm going to put my zipper foot where it's right next to that tape. I'm going to set my stitch length to about 3.0. And it gets tricky when you're going over the big hump. So you just want to sew, take it careful and just sew like a few stitches at a time and then help move it, but don't put your finger under the presser foot. And see, that's creating a really pretty top stitch right next to it. Okay, I'm going to do that all the way around. When I get to the bottom, I'll pivot and sew across here, and then I'll sew up and go all the way back to the other side. Okay, so now you're going to get your hood facing, and you are going to neaten or just serge along the top curved edge of that facing. If you don't have a serger, you can use your sewing machine and zigzag this edge. And then once you're finished with that, you are going to press under this facing by 3/8 of an inch. You're going to press towards the wrong side. Now you have finished finishing the outside part of the hood. Now you are going to clip that facing to the outer edge of your hood. So you're going to start here and you're going to come all the way here and you're going to clip around. So now I have serged my hood facing onto my hood, right sides together, and now I'm just going to turn it over to where this seam is at the very top. And you can either use your Wonder tape or you can use pins, and you're just going to go through and you're going to attach this to the hood. So I'm going to go all along here attaching this. This is where you had turned under 3/8 of an inch. So you're going to fold your zipper tape into there. I'll do it on the other one. I cut mine off when I was sewing, and I wish I would have left a little bit more to fold under, but even if you do like I did and you don't leave yourself as much, it's still fine. So this is under 3/8 an inch, and so whenever you go to wrap this around, you're folding that seam allowance down and you're shoving your zipper tape into that seam allowance. And so you're going to put a clip or a pin there. And so whenever I go to sew, I'm going to start here and come up, or actually I'm going to start here, go down, and then sew all the way around. And again, pay attention to your grommets because you don't want to sew into a grommet. And those will be completely covered once you sew this down. So you're going to go the whole of this neckline and either pinning, or you can use Wonder tape. Sometimes Wonder tape is easier. And then when we stitch this down, we're just going to use our regular sewing machine, or you can use a cover stitch and use a stretch stitch or just a long straight stitch. Either one of them will work.
Okay, so now it's time to make a drawstring. Now that we have our zipper done, our hood done, so we're going to make a drawstring, or you can just use shoelace or use one that's already made. But I like to make my own so that I can coordinate fabric. So I cut just a strip of fabric that's 1.5 inches wide, and I just use the length of the width of my fabric, anywhere from 50 to 60 inches long, and then I can cut it back later when I'm done. But I take it and I sew it right sides together. So all you're doing is sewing all along the long end. I do, since I'm doing 1.5 inches, I use my serger and I just do a 1/4 inch seam allowance and serge all the way down. And then once I'm done, I'm going to turn it out right sides. Okay, now that I have my drawstring threaded through my hood, you can just cut it off, whatever is extra, and then tie the knot. Make sure though that once you have it, that you find your center. And I always like to tie my center down here just so that it doesn't get pulled through, and also and make sure you knot it. And now that we have done that, we are done with our hood. We are done with our zipper. And it should look great. All we have left are our sleeves and our hem finish.